All right. A very warm good morning or good afternoon, depending upon the time zone you are in. I am Kuldeep Thakre, Senior Strategist at Enalito Automation. We are an AI company working in the field of predictive analytics and machine learning to solve key problems. And I'm really happy to welcome our amazing panelists to this e-commerce growth hack summit 2020. We have four unique individuals from the world of e-commerce retail. They are uh, doing amazing things in retail, and we would love to learn more from their experiences. uh, I really want to take this opportunity before we begin to say thank you so much for joining in on the panel. Let me begin with a formal introduction for our panelists. Let me start with Terry. Uh, Terry Rokovich is the co-founder and CEO of Jinx. She's an executive with 12 plus years of combined agency and client-side experiences at fast-moving companies. She's proactive and result-driven leader and has handled multi-million dollar project with solid history of generating impressive growth and profitability on media investment. Uh, she has been working on diverse strategic mandates with cross-functional teams, and she has extremely sharp organizational skills, creative and analytical thinking, and problem solving. She has been in the business of retail and e-commerce for such a long time. Terry, welcome to the panel.
Thank you. What a
Wonderful.
warm intro.
Awesome.
I am here to represent Jinx, which is an online destination for premium dog food and treats. And we're singularly devoted to improving dogs' lives with products they love. So this is my first kind of entrepreneurial adventure,
Wonderful.
being in the co-founder seat. But our website is thinkjinx.com. And then we also sell on petco.com and rover.com.
Wonderful. Great. Awesome. Great. So the next we have on the panel is Michael Cybulski. Michael is the founder of Cyber Digital, and he's also working with Radiant Digital as a digital marketing strategist. And he has studied computer science and engineering from Michigan State University, and he believes in creating innovative digital solutions and systems for startups, retailers, and brands out there. And he has amazing experience in the field of marketing. Michael, welcome to the panel.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction. I appreciate it. So, like Kuldeep just mentioned, I started up Cyber after working on some custom projects for a consumer product brand I founded called Lace Kings that was in the sneaker space about 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And working on that, we came up with some new ways to do things. So we were looking to help other brands doing those same types of things.
Wow, great, amazing. Looking forward to learning a lot today from Michael. Thank you, Michael. The next we have on the panel is Pranav Sachdeva. Pranav is the co-founder and CEO of Glyph, which is a direct-to-consumer shoe company. Glyphs are designed to be the only pair of shoes someone needs, and Pranav believes in the philosophy of minimalism, and he is passionate about advancing society's relationship with material possessions. And Glyph, his venture, is backed by growth investors, including 500 startups and Cornell University. Pranav has started his career in investment banking at JP Morgan after working several years in. He has worked in tech strategy for several years in the consulting domain, and he has looked over digital advertising project valued $300 million, and he has been doing amazing work in the field of entrepreneurship. Pranav had studied bachelor's in economics from Trinity College, and he has been kind of working in the field of startups and doing amazing things. Pranav, welcome to the panel. Looking forward to listening a lot of your amazing thoughts.
Hey, thank you. Really went back there. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Pranav. The next we have on the panel is Aaron Morton. Aaron is the founder and CEO of Agoji. Uh, Aaron is an energetic and driven achiever with a history of building functional strategies across variety of industries and vertical. He's a creative thinker dedicated to aligning marketing strategies with the business goals and developing trusted collaborative relationship with stakeholders to achieve the desired outcomes. And his venture Agoji has combined its progressive resistance technology with comfortable moisture wicking athletic pants to create the most explosive wearable resistance ever made. Agoji resistance pants have been designed to intensify your every moment, and he's been doing amazing thing as a digital marketing strategist as well as an entrepreneur. And Aaron has a lot of ton of information to share with us today. Aaron, welcome to the panel. Thank you so much, guys. So we have got four great minds on the panel. I'm really excited to learn a lot from them. My first question is pretty tough, which is purpose. Uh, why? What is the purpose of your brand, and why you started your brand? Let me go to Terry to begin with.
Absolutely. So I had kind of alluded to it in my intro, but I've always had a passion for animals. And so kind of starting my professional track and working for a bunch of very big brands, Fortune 500 brands, pivoting to startup world and working in fashion and selling mattresses and boxes. Had led me to kind of get all of that experience. I think that's necessary to see different models and how businesses grow and kind of become rocket ships. But my real passion is kind of in the animal and animal advocacy space. And so I knew that if I was going to do my own thing, which would require like a lot of long days and long nights, from a time commitments perspective, and then also just a lot of like rigor and hard decision making, that it had to be in a category that I was super passionate about. And I have a dog. I have two dogs, but one dog in particular with a ton of health issues. And so our food journey or nutrition journey was a complicated one. And it felt like the biggest opportunity because there's so many big brands owned by CPG that are not transparent in the way that they craft, create, and distribute food. And so we really wanted to take a different approach to mass premium and offer something that was whole and complete and made with real ingredients and designed for the modern dog. And do it through an online direct-to-consumer model where we have that direct connection with our customers to inform complete feedback loops and really like optimize our product roadmap and digital experiences. And so the real intention is around improving dogs' lives and starting with nutrition, because we've got a theory that a healthy dog is a happy dog, and nutrition is really the foundation of wellness. But doing that online, and I think, we just happen to be fortunate enough to launch the business at the top of the year into the height of a pandemic where everyone had started to shop for their staples online. The fact that we deliver straight to your door is really an added benefit. And when you think about the use case in this category, like carrying dog food home is a pain in the butt, especially if you rely on, the subway or a train or any other type of kind of communal transportation. So avoiding that experience and not having to make the decision between like, am I buying dog food or milk because I can only carry one, certainly is an added benefit in terms of ease and convenience too. So the model in its entirety is really intended to offer better nutrition on a mass scale through a digital channel. But there's a lot of, I think, like branding edge opportunity within the category because it just doesn't exist.
Wow, awesome. So you have a very, very strong purpose and something which is kind of coming from your own experiences. And I think that's an amazing thing that you're doing. And I think more power to you. Amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Let me go to Pranav. Pranav, what is your brand's purpose? What problem are you solving?
Yeah, thanks. So Glyph is really focused on minimalism, and our mission is around like designing better things and really, I think, changing the conversation in our society about the things that we consume. And so our goal from a product standpoint is really tied to that. And we started from this point of, well, what if you had one pair of shoes? Like, how would that work? And so, we made them waterproof so people can wear them with, in the rain. We made them like, so you can wear them with different kind of outfits. So we've had customers kind of wear them, from like to their own wedding receptions, all the way to just like hanging out at the beach. And like we did that because like, we think it's cool when people have that moment where they're like, wow, I can just like wear these with anything. And that hopefully will make people reconsider, like I think the role of just material possessions in their lives. I think the last year, I think really there's been like a lot of resonance with that with people, because people have started like thinking about like what's really important given the situation that a lot of people are in. And so, it's been an interesting journey for us, but that's really what got me excited about what we were doing.
Well, that's pretty amazing. Glad to hear that. And wow, so it's a very, very strong purpose. And I think when you are really invested with a strong purpose, I think sky's the limit for your venture. Amazing. Thank you so much, Pranav. Let me go to Michael. Michael, how about you? What drives you, and what is the purpose?
Right. So I've kind of found my way into several purposes, not on purpose. So with the first and only, well, I founded a couple different consumer product brands, and we pivoted a few times. I originally started as a technical co-founder at the first brand that I worked at, Lace Kings, and we were serving the sneaker enthusiast market with custom premium shoelaces for, like their Air Jordans and Yeezys and all these unique sneakers that people had. And we found a market there on Amazon originally, as a small pivot from a few other things we were working on. We also worked in the fitness space, and it really came down to we were looking at the numbers originally and what market we could best serve, and we found a big market here, and it actually kind of turned into a brand from that point when we did gain traction, just kind of doing international trade, and then doing the technology portion of it. So I continued on with that brand after seeing that people really liked what we had produced, and we came up with some original packaging and did it a little different than everybody else was doing it. And people liked it, and we were like, okay, cool, let's keep doing more of that. And we kind of took it more down a technology route, given my background in computer science, and found that there was a need on the internet for a way to actually search for shoelaces that actually makes sense. So I started working on essentially the Google for shoelaces, where you can type in, or eventually we're hoping to do like an image match, where you could just use your camera to identify your shoe, and then it'll just come back with what shoelaces fit your shoe and what colors look good on it, and you can try them on, and then just click order. So Amazon hasn't done, that's where we were primarily selling. Amazon wasn't really doing a good job at it, and there's 5,000 different vendors for shoelaces. You'd never imagine it, but it's a highly competitive market. It's really quite funny. But I sought out to kind of make the absolute best thing that I could make, be the best shoelace seller in the world, if that's possible. And I think it is, given what we're doing. So I just sought to be the best at what it is and serving the best way that we can. After getting customer feedback on the website as people were making orders, they were always having questions like, hey, which one should I get? I have this shoe in this size, and I don't know if this color fits. And then we get emails, like, hey, this color red doesn't look like the color red that I thought it was, and it doesn't match quite right. And, out of all of that, the idea started forming. I started doing the research. I retooled myself in full stack JavaScript and started writing the code myself, which is still kind of in progress. But I kind of found my purpose from my technical skill set, trying to solve a larger problem that wasn't being addressed by major retailers, because it is a niche solution. So that's kind of, I guess, how that got started. And then Cyber, as a digital consultancy, was born in the sense of providing that same type of thing, after doing a lot of research around like PWA technology, headless commerce, with Shopify or BigCommerce, Next.js, a lot of these cool JavaScript-based technologies that we found our way into, that seem to be better at filling that problem set of quick load time, allowing us to do things dynamically and do a lot of processing and logic on the back end to process the data. And it was just easier to do it all in one language, being a developer. So I was like, okay, cool, we're going to use MERN stack to do that. So yeah, then Radiant was kind of like the other arm. We started retooling ourselves into digital marketing, and we started helping dentists actually with their digital marketing because we found also a niche there where dentists were, you know, good at their job, but not really good at understanding how to connect with people online and weren't digital marketers themselves. So we've been helping dentists do that. So a few different things. I don't know if it's as good a defined
Wow. So
purpose as some of the previous ones. It's more of like we just find problems and try to solve them, I guess, is my purpose.
wonderful, wonderful. So you're marrying your learning in computer science with as many problems you see in front of you.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I think that's the best way to kind of look at things. And because I think if you have the core expertise, that can make a huge difference. I think because the empowerment that you offer through technology, because I think people are expert in their own field, but I think they sometimes need that expert opinion or experts who can help them with technology. Wow, excellent work, Cyber.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to. I'll touch base upon a few things that you mentioned earlier. Cool. Let me go to Aaron. Aaron, how about you? What about
Sure.
what you're doing?
Agoji's main purpose is to improve human health through resistance apparel. Resistance apparel is a new category of apparel in the apparel industry, mostly focused in the athleisure and performance sportswear space. Kind of the aha moment on why I developed it was I was working with NFL players, and they were trying to figure out how to put resistance on the body in a natural way outside of a gym to be better competitors in their sport. And they used all kinds of apparatuses to do that that weren't really that functional. And I thought resistance bands and pants would be a really cool way to start that journey. Turns out that wearing them made them bigger, faster, stronger athletes. We took that into a broader based consumer market and started seeing Parkinson's patients become more stable, people with injuries getting healthier simply by wearing our product. My personal story for it is I wore it for 90 days. I had back surgery prior to that. My surgeon said I would never run again. It helped strengthen my lower back, hip flexors and things to the point that I could get back into a running position without the impact pain for about 2 miles. So there's a lot of benefits to the product. Our number one consumer is a broad-based consumer.
Cool, awesome. So you it's something that is coming from your own problem that you saw, and wow, that's an excellent thing. Excellent. My next question for all of you is, once you identified your problem area, that okay, you want to solve this problem area, you have built your brand, but after building your brand or after achieving a certain scale, how do you scale up? How do you use technology, or what kind of do you use AI for your business, or how do you look at artificial intelligence and how it can help your business in achieving that scale? Let me go to Terry.
Sure. So, we're pretty confident that we have a superior product, and that's kind of reinforced through our customer retention numbers. But like growth is the most important thing for a new business. We launched at the top of the year in January, and so with a very fluctuating marketplace, we just have to be super agile. We've got a very small team, and working remotely is not ideal. So I think that we've probably relied on technology, specifically AI, in a pretty serious way. And that's just because it learns so fast and it optimizes so fast. And so in that instance, we use it mostly on the advertising side, and in such a way where if we only have so many variables that we can control, being able to create or automate the creation process of our assets is pretty important, so that we're constantly kind of feeding the engine. And then to the degree that we can put automations in place as it relates to focusing our budget on audiences that are converting, or have high intent and are kind of showing us the signals that matter in terms of interest for our specific product portfolio, is something that If it's always on, if it's always optimizing, that, ultimately is more efficient than a person kind of checking an account even a handful of times per day. So we rely very heavily on technology, apps that are compatible with Shopify, apps that are compatible with our biggest digital marketing channels, and the automation of processes, as kind of directed by humans.
Cool. Awesome. Great. Amazing. How about you, Pranav? What kind of technologies do you use in your business and to scale up?
I think a lot of, the tech that we're using, we're just harnessing the, the machine learning that these advertising platforms have. And it's just understanding like what those platforms are really capable of. And it's kind of interesting because on Facebook, it's great because, the machine learning is so good that really what you do is you don't have to focus. Years ago, people would focus on like how to segment the audience and what time to run ads. And now none of that really matters because machine learning is so good. And so you're just focused on, hey, how do we get the best creative we can get? Right. How can we get the best landing pages? Whereas, we're running ads on TikTok now, and that's like so nascent. So they'll tell you like, oh, we have like the same machine learning as Facebook, but they just don't have all the data yet, and they're not on all these sites. So their bidding platform is like crazy, right? It's so new that like, if you just let it run by itself, like very bad things would happen. So, right. And so like it's interesting to try and like on that platform, you do have to do content too, but then like how you run the campaigns is much better. So I think it's understanding like how these different platforms work, and it's just a lot of like running lots of experiments, I think, at the end of the day.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So you're kind of relying on the platforms and letting them do the job for you, whereas you're thinking on the creative side. Excellent. Michael, you talked about personalization. How important personalization is from the retail and e-commerce perspective? Because you might have noticed that out of the 100 stores, if you look at 90% of the stores will lack personalization, and how it becomes detrimental for their growth. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, definitely the biggest and most dominant stores are all using some degree of highly dynamic and personalized search. So that's really where I focus my attention with this brand. It's a brand right now, but in time I had hoped to turn it into a platform of sorts that we're going to allow other brands onto it as we migrate off of Shopify. All related other Shopify brands that have created specific hats and shirts and wallets and things that people might want to see with their sneakers. Perhaps they have a certain color scheme or a certain feel or a certain material or something that is complementary to a certain sneaker that they wear. And let's say we're going to implement a certain feature that allows us to know like what sneaker they have. So once they do a search, they can be like, oh yes, this is a sneaker that I own. We log that into their account, and as they're searching, we're giving them things that go with what they already have. So this was actually the basis for another startup I began working on called Wardrobe, which also had a similar premise. But it is the dominant way. If you're wasting people's time, not showing them what they actually want, they're going to leave. It definitely, to Terry's point, like having a dominant product definitely matters, like a lot. And especially if you're only driving like a few products and you're just, focusing on, driving traffic from a platform and then capturing the customer on some key offering and then bringing them back repeatedly. That's an excellent model. I think eventually, because we were running a low price point product and it has pretty good reorder. We were like about 20%, which was good for like shoelaces, I thought. But we really wanted to expand beyond that, and we didn't want to do product development for every possible thing that could be done there. And we realized there's a lot more creativity out already in the sneaker market, a lot of creatives. So we hope to leverage that in the future for that. But back to your point about AI specifically, we do use AI in advertising as well. We use a product called Metrics on Amazon, which has done pretty well for us. And then we're looking at a few other ones using some of the keyword harvesting tools we have and layering some bid optimization on top of that, just to like make sure that we're getting the best price for clicks and that we're profitable all the way through, because we have a lot of SKUs to manage.
Wow.
But yeah, that's
cool.
Did that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah. So you are kind of using AI typically for advertising, but I think for stores also by capturing the intent from the consumers directly by knowing what they are.
Getting to know more about them and using that information to feed into, along with some other data that we collect, like feeding that alongside and delivering the best product at the right time, either through like an email follow-up or directly in the search when they make the search.
That's cool. That's cool, because I think what we in the field of e-commerce, when from a Facebook ad, when someone stumbles across a store, I think the first 5 seconds define whether the consumer is going to stay for the next 10. And those next 10 define whether the next 1 minute he's going to stay and make that checkout. And I think the lack of intelligence on the e-commerce store or on a marketplace,
it's frustrating.
It's actually frustrating for consumers because they do not have all the time to just go from one page to another. And that's where the intelligent personalization can help the merchant in making sure that the product discovery happens for the consumer seamlessly. And that's when they can expect conversion. So if 100 people are coming, they can easily elevate their conversion ratio from 1% to 5% through intelligent personalization.
I mean, if you just take a real life example from maybe way back, like let's say you go, well, maybe not even way back, like Nordstrom's, they assign you a personal shopper, and that person should remember what types of things you like. And if you come in next time, they're going to try to tailor exactly what you like, and they know you personally and you call you by name and they know what colors you like and what types of suit you like or whatever it is. And they're incentivized to do well at doing that. Taking that intelligence and just turning it into a computer system. I think the top companies of our Amazon is obviously completely dominated that space, and we're basically trying to take what they've done and add our own spin based on our niche, and do very well at that.
Great. So. Yeah, absolutely. Huge application, I think. But I think that's amazing. Let me go to Aaron. Aaron, you built an amazing product, and you know your target audience. What are the techniques that you use to engage with your target audience to build that awareness and bring the target audience into that conversion funnel? How do you do that?
We do a few things. So from a knowledge base, we collect a lot of data. We run it through different databases and visualization tools, mostly Tableau, to really understand who the consumer is, where the consumer is. And then from an AI perspective, we have something layered on top that will telling us which consumers convert at what rates, what things they like to see. The next stage of that is it's going to show content specifically to that consumer based on a mathematical AI system, which has started to already take place, where our average consumer within 1 minute of coming to our website will do a purchase. And we keep seeing our conversion rate grow by making these what seemingly are minor tweaks to the site, but it keeps, you get a 0.25% here, another 0.25%. It changes your conversion rates drastically over a shorter amount of time.
Wow, cool. So you're using data to do all that. Amazing. Glad to know that 1 minute, I think the checkout is happening. Wow, that's an excellent thing. And
our average, we have one product, it's pants. They're $130. So for somebody to make a purchase decision from seeing a piece of content from an ad into getting into the site, seeing the imagery that they need to see and make a purchase decision in a minute, I think is pretty good.
Awesome. Great. From that, my next question for all of you is around product education. I think marketing is an art, and I believe that's where a lot of brands have a lot of work to do, especially if you have small teams. If you have larger teams, definitely everyone is doing their own thing. But if you have small team, you have to rely on technology for achieving your marketing objectives. So what are some of the marketing techniques that you use for content? Like what kind of content do you guys create for your product marketing? and how have you seen the results of doing content marketing for your brands? Terry?
Sure. So right now it's all digital.
Okay.
I think in a world where you can speak to a qualified or certified human to get
Mm-hmm.
advice on wellness and nutrition, and do that in like a one-to-one way, that feels like a really great, memorable experience that you can trust, and you can take that information to then go
Mm-hmm.
and inform food choices and decisions for someone who can't choose for themselves, in this case your dog or your dogs.
Yeah.
But right now, all of our marketing is digital. Our primary channels are email, content marketing, organic and paid, social and search, display, and retargeting. So what we're trying to do is really kind of take this world of very kind of scientific information and research, and then put it in really kind of what I call snackable content experiences, and then push that through these channels, and really just reinforce it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I know that I personally learned through pet ownership is, you buy a bag of food, you presume it's fantastic because of the claims on the bag, or
Mm-hmm.
a recommendation from a friend or a family member. But you never really like turn that bag over and look
Yeah.
at the ingredient panel or the guaranteed analysis, nor do some people even know what a guaranteed analysis is, or what the regulatory body in the pet food or pet feed industry is, and how they qualify nutrition.
Wonderful.
And so I think that education is absolutely critical,
Mm-hmm.
specifically in the food space, to delineate between good options and not so great options. And then putting it in a digital format where people can, through an IG story, basically acquire information that
Yeah.
allows them to go and take the bag out of the cupboard, turn it around, understand how to process that information,
Mm-hmm.
and potentially make a better choice for the next bag that they buy.
Cool.
And I think, in an email format, it's really lovely to have editorial experiences. On a blog, you can also kind of have a more long-winded, editorialized education experience. But on social and on search, it's just like quick hit information that
Yeah.
really kind of serves the customer in the best way. And our intention is kind of built around like giving them the information, and whether they buy with
Mm-hmm.
Jinx or without Jinx, they're just equipped to make better decisions. And so content is critical. Of course, there's like the DR version of content, and that's
Yeah.
where we do a lot of testing and a lot of iterating to understand like what messages are compelling, what serves as a hook, what lands, what drives traffic, what drives conversion.
Wonderful.
But really the education piece is so important.
Great. So you have a very, very balanced and thoughtful approach towards product education and making the consumers aware about your product. And I think, because I think that resonates, because most consumers are often, when they're buying, they may not go and look at those details. So you are kind of trying to create that awareness. Amazing. How about
Yeah,
you,
totally.
Pranav? What are some of the things that you do to, and like the marketing strategies that you adopt to engage with your target audience for Glyph?
I think I definitely echo, some of what Terry said, especially along like just snackable video content. We found is great.
Yeah.
I think the other thing we think about, and where I think there's an opportunity, is around creative direction. I
Mm-hmm.
think the opportunity that we saw is that a lot of these millennial D2C brands, like
Yeah.
they all look good, but they look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And if you compare that to more traditional fashion that you might be familiar with, there's like really better creative direction. Like it's just much better. And like, if you think of like an Abercrombie ad from when you were a kid, like you would, I think about that and like, be like sepia, and there'd be like a Jack guy with the shirt off, right? And you wouldn't need to see the logo or anything. Not that we want to copy what they were doing, but you wouldn't need to see the logo. You would know it was Abercrombie.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, if, when I go on the web and look at like, I'm like, oh, that's a millennial D2C brand. I have no idea which one it is because they all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's created an opportunity for us. So I think we're really like, feel like there's so much opportunity to do cool stuff with creative direction,
Wow.
and also to do content specific to platforms.
Yeah.
So I think, and that stuff's like a lot of fun too. So that's been great for us.
Excellent. Excellent. Michael, I want to come to you and ask, as a digital strategist, what advice would you give to an e-commerce brand in order to scale up? Let's say they're already doing $100,000 a month, what things they should do in order to take that to $1 million a month? What are some of the things that they should do and kind of take their brand to the next level?
I think the first question I would ask is what's working right now?
Oh.
What can we learn about what's working right now?
Mm-hmm.
And is there any, closely related thing that we could be doing to add to that? Because some of the things that are already working, there's usually a nugget of opportunity there that can be expanded on.
Yeah.
Like if, for example, you've already launched dog food, and you're selling really well, and it's a great consumable product. Maybe you have, a dog toy or dog bowl or some additional product that you can add alongside and remarket to the people that have already bought from you. So it could be a new product launch. If organic's already working really well for you, I don't think I'd probably go down the paid route if you don't have to. But if you are struggling to grow, then paid advertising can be excellent. And trying to capitalize on products that you're already selling really well on an existing channel, and perhaps trying another channel that could also target that same market. So I think it's probably doubling, tripling down on what's already working and finding new ways to do that same thing in either a new market with a new channel or a new product with an existing channel. That you can reach people that you already have in your email list or already have contact with or are ready to buy from you.
Cool. So identifying the areas of opportunities in terms of what's working. And my next question is around a channel for paid marketing. Aaron, what channel has worked best for you so far in order to have that engagement with your consumers and to get those conversions that you're looking for? Is it Google? Is it Facebook? What channel have you spent more time in?
Facebook, Instagram by far. We're testing Snap and TikTok and Google. And then there's another marketplace that we're testing that you can send content directly onto live TV or over the top, and then also onto those media properties websites inside of different content pieces. That's a new channel we're testing this year. And then we use some traditional things still, like we have PR agents that get us into digital content on TV as products, especially for fitness season. So we have a couple spots coming up in January where we're one of the products in 2021 fitness products of the year type of thing for fitness. That drives traffic. Then we can retarget and recirculate that stuff with our AI engine. It identifies users with Google IDs, so we can target those consumers with certain pieces of content. But from a return and traffic standpoint, by far it's Facebook and Instagram.
Cool. Awesome. My next question for you is, for all of you, is around what platform are you currently using for your e-commerce brand, and why you have chosen that particular platform? Why, out of the various kinds of platforms available there, the platform that you have chosen, what are some of the things that you felt can work for your brand? Terry, what platform do you work on?
We are built on Shopify Plus.
Okay.
And I would say, we raised money in what would have been Q4 of 2018. And then we spent the entirety of 2019, basically like incubating and building the identity around the brand, and then doing all of our product dev and testing, and selecting our system. So of the RFPs we ran, Shopify felt like the most seamless in terms of being able to stand a website up, customize it, plug in apps, test different kind of site features and functionalities, and really kind of operate under a continuous improvement mentality in terms of just making sure the site was built for speed and ease of conversion. The support was great. We found a dev shop that, could build fast and build frequent. So it felt like the most obvious choice for our business. And then I will say just some of the integrations, specifically like Shop Pay, has been one of those things where, like, as soon as you implement it, you immediately feel it. And I think like we're looking for more solutions like that. You turn something on and you see it have an impact on your business.
Wow.
And I think like that's one of many things that we've been able to kind of plug into the Shopify platform that have shown kind of some immediate successes. I realize I feel like a sales machine for Shopify. I'm not in no way affiliated, but yeah, I think it works for a lot of D2C businesses. And kind of even like the app, I'm on the app on my phone every day and just in order to get like real time kind of signals in terms of how the business is trending. And then if you leave your sound on, you can hear like the cha-ching, which is like a really lovely sound for a growing business. So,
wow.
I couldn't rave more about it, but I think for someone who has been in the digital space, but less familiar with e-commerce platforms and the way they work and the way they scale, we've been really happy with Shopify Plus.
Wonderful. So you like that sound coming every minute. I hope that happens.
I like that
Yeah,
sound.
everybody smiled when you said that.
The sound is great.
Everybody
That's
got
the
a big
hook.
grin on their face. Everybody loves that sound.
That's the best sound to hear.
That's pure happiness.
Pure happiness. Yeah.
I have to
Sometimes.
say, so our subscriptions happen at 12:15 every night, and so like as you can imagine with a recurring business, like subscriptions become compounding in nature. So around 12:15, it's like cha-ching, 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 and it's like it wakes me up every night, and I'm so fine being woken up by it. But it's
cool.
sound. It's
That's
branding.
awesome.
Wow.
I would just put I love that. Like I would my strategy was like in investor meetings, I just put my phone on loud and just like let it go.
Okay. Well, that becomes a
great strategy.
That's a great strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually ask after a while and you're like, oh, that was just a sale.
Awesome. Wow. So if that starts happening, but I think that's a result of all the amount of different efforts that you guys are taking into building that brand and kind of the marketing side of things. So I would like to talk about the marketing side of things now, which is around consumer engagement. See, I think acquiring a customer is definitely very, very difficult because it's a crowded space. You have a lot of competition. Once you have acquired your customers, how do you make sure that you are able to engage with them and retain them so that you can derive maximum lifetime value? Pranav, what things do you do for consumer engagement and retention?
I mean, I think like, there's like some best practices around like, especially around email.
Yeah.
That we make sure we do. I think the biggest thing we do, but it's probably just like having a really good product. Like at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. And so, we sell shoes, and like our key metric as a brand is like, how often are you wearing the shoes? And so we'll kind of get, we'll just get information from our customers. Like we email them after they've had the shoes for like 45 days. And we're like, hey, like, well, how's it going with them? Like, are you still wearing them? If like not, what would you change? And like that feedback has been really invaluable for us. Like, and I think the first batch, like, because we started the company like very little money, and the first batch was just like, our NPS was like terrible. It was like our friends just telling us they hated our shoes, and like, and how like, but every batch we just use feedback, and we've never made the same pair of shoes twice. And now like, I think we're like north of like 30%. It looks like it's going to be on the last batch, and like, so that's been like the biggest thing. It's just like, I feel like, because you can't be the best at everything. Right. So like for us, we just like want to like be the best at product development and iteration.
Awesome. So you're listening to the consumer feedback, I think, and then kind of incorporating that feedback to make the product more better. That can really make a big difference. Amazing. Michael, I want to ask you this question, which is around, again, consumer engagement and retention. So you have worked with a lot of brands, and you are currently, let's say, for brand X, what are the things that you actually ask them to do to make sure that their consumer engagement remains very, very strong and have like a very strong like retention rate? I mean, because I think the customer acquisition cost always is on the higher side if we go for new customers through paid advertising or the other efforts. So what advice do you give them?
Well, I think I'd probably want to look at a few of the key metrics that they have, including what their current retention rate is, what their existing email funnel really looks like. Are they reaching back out, like to Pranav's thought there, like, are you reaching out in 60 days or 90 days later, and you have something else that would be complementary to what they've already purchased from you, and are they going for that next step? Unfortunately, with our brand, we don't have a next step right now, which is kind of the problem for us. We don't have an add-on product. We don't have a subscription product, so we kind of get limited on how many times we can go back. But for a lot of businesses, there's a lot of opportunity there to do that sort of thing. So I think I'd be looking at looking at what they're already doing to bring people back, how often they're coming back, how often they're re-engaging with appropriate content that would make sense after someone's already made a purchase. Whether it's about the product they've already made, that they've already purchased, or about education on the next product in the flow that consumers should be buying after they've purchased a certain product. So I think those are a few things that I would look for. And we're still kind of searching for our next step in that process. We have, like I mentioned before, like 20% come back, and I don't know why. At this point, they just like it. They think it's cool, and that's great. But we haven't like tried to intentionally do that. It just happened that way for us.
So it's like understanding the consumer behavior and then understanding the metrics, which is kind of working in your favor. And it's often noticed that 20% of your consumers give 80% of your revenue. So if you're able to kind of have that combination kind of balanced out with a very strong consumer engagement practice, I think it's very, very easy, because I think churn is something that the whole e-commerce world is kind of struggling with. The churn rate, the higher the churn rate, more money has to be spent in new customer acquisition. And that
I think
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So
I was just going to say on your point, the churn. Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Sorry, to your point on churn, I think that's a really important topic, because it does cost so much more to acquire a new customer. And I think really what it comes down to is just mapping out who your target niche is. And if you know that person extremely well, creating a few avatars of the types of people that are coming through your funnels, and where they are in their journey when they show up the first time, the second time, the third time, what would they most likely want next, and keeping that content relevant and keeping them, keep adding value to them so they are interested to keep a relationship with you. If you had a relationship with someone in your real life and they talk to you a few times and then they stop talking in return when you ask for something or talk, you would probably ignore them and go on. And e-commerce world would call that churn. In real life, it's just like, okay, they lost interest. Same thing. So if you're not offering any real value, they're probably going to be on their way.
Right. Absolutely. That's a very great insight. Absolutely. My next question is for Aaron, and it's around, last 8 months have been challenging for every business out there. And I think the next new year is going to have a lot of opportunities, but what are some of the things that you are going to do in the next 1 year to kind of take your brand to the next level, that you thought of doing it this year, but you haven't done, and you want to do it next year?
We grew significantly this year. 2020 was challenging for many, many people and companies. For us, we grew 6 times our revenue from last year. So we had a crazy growth year. We have a lot of plans for next year to continue that growth, new human capital, new marketing pieces. We're actually going into, we had our first TV commercial produced on Wednesday this week. So I'll start seeing the editing next week. So, going more into a broader omni-channel kind of marketing perspective. There are some things. We're also on Shopify. I love the cha-ching. I love the app and all that fun stuff. The other thing that there's an app that we use. It's called Carro, Carro. It helps us identify who is attached to our brand, who's an influencer, what their rates are. Then also you can do cross-sell across different distribution platforms through that product. From a growth perspective, we find complementary brand consumer brands that may have the same type of customer that wouldn't mind spending $130 for a pair of pants, but also might pay $25 for a bag of dog food. So we would get together as brands, share our Facebook audiences, and share some of those assets to reduce the cost of acquisition. We've done that probably 8 or 9 times in the last year to increase the market reach to people that will take their credit card out and purchase. And then from a retention standpoint, and this is just something we're continuing to do, every single review, good, bad, we have a team member that reaches out to those people. If it's a good review, we want to know everything about it, same as the bad side. And then we ask customers continuously for content and videos that we can use in our advertising, so that consumer that sees it can connect with that other consumer very easily through a piece of content. And that has been way above any type of influencer you could imagine that we've worked with in the last year. It's always user-generated content that produces the most revenue.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, yeah, that's a very interesting insight that you touched upon. Is your consumers, they themselves are your brand ambassadors, and I think having them on the top of your store, or like they recommending your brand to others, I think that's the biggest validation one can get, and I think that can have a big impact on retention. Amazing. My next question, as we're coming to an end of this panel discussion, is around basically user-generated content, and definitely there are a lot of opportunities in that area. But who is, let's say your brand wants to associate with a personality, let's say you want to do partnership, who is that person like you want to kind of connect with? Let's say you want to tie up that can give you that big impact on the branding side. Like I've been talking to one of the panelists in one of her summit, and she mentioned that Serena Williams discovered their beauty brand, which she actually was using, and they reached out to them, and she became the part owner in that brand. And I was like, wow, if that thing starts to happen, wow, great things. Because as an entrepreneur who is juggling with so many things, getting that kind of validation from a celebrity like that is the biggest validation for effort. So whom do you want to kind of associate with in the future if given a chance? Terry?
So we have an interesting approach to UGC. I would say like I err on the side of like consuming content where we have endorsements from like real dog parents based on real results. And so because people are so generous with capturing that content from the moment the box arrives through the feeding experiences, and then like even within the first 10 days of transitioning the diet, talking about the solution, talking about the results, like that to me as a dog parent is much more compelling than hearing like a scripted endorsement from a high profile person. That being said, we have a slate of high profile investors. And so in the instance where they have dogs and their dogs are eating Jinx, like we'll take that content all day because it does really great in terms of engagement scoring. And overall product validation in the marketplace. But if I had to pick, I think like my like dream influencer or like UGC content would be the Obamas. I'm just like so obsessed with the family and the way that they present themselves. And so, and they have a super cute dog. And so I feel like that's like at the top of our A list.
Great. That's a great thought. Amazing. Good to know that. How about you, Pranav? If given a chance to associate with an influencer or not a celebrity, I must say, but someone who you look up to for your brand?
Yeah, I think for us, it's a combination of people that are really like thoughtful, but also kind of stylish. So we're definitely not like a Kardashian brand, right? Like because it's just like for us, it's really like the value set. So like. I think for us, it's more like, if it was like Joaquin Phoenix or Emma Watson, like those are kind of the people that we would look up to.
Cool. Awesome. My next question is for Michael, is around digital marketing strategy of, let's say there is a brand who had just entered into e-commerce. How should they plan their digital marketing strategy? What should they do right from the very beginning?
That's a good question. There are so many ways, I think, to approach that based on the personality of the person, the market they're approaching, the product that they have. I mean, if it's a consumer product brand and it's a subscription type of thing, like Terry was shown, I think, and actually all these brands, I think it's just really great to have a really solid uh, social networking funnel
Uh-huh.
of some kind, where you're funneling people in and establishing that brand mind space on the internet. Um, with some other types of products, like we have over 200 SKUs, and some of the approach, getting granular in Google Ads, for example, and addressing all those long tail keywords has been one of our approaches, to make sure that we're being very highly specific to what people are looking for, because it goes to people go to a long extent to find the exact thing that they're looking for in our space. So it really depends, I think, on the problem set. Influencers are excellent too. We've also used influencers. User generated content was also super strong from us. So I guess I don't know how to answer the question without knowing the problem set. But yeah, all those things could be effective.
Awesome. All right. So I think that's something which really kind of can be standardized. I think no matter what the vertical is knowing who the audience is, what you're serving, and kind of helping them through your product. And I think influencer marketing can play a big role. So that's amazing. Aaron, for you, my question is, like, uh, do you believe in organic growth or inorganic growth? I mean, or do you believe in a balance of both?
I would say a balance. Um, Organic's only going to get you so far. At some point, you have to spend money. Our ad budget, early into 2020 was very small daily. Now it's getting larger every day. So you have to balance both and grow it. There's no way to grow just organically.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Wonderful. And before we end, I would like to ask this final questions around one piece of advice that you would like to give to someone who is already in the field of retail, or someone who wants to enter as an entrepreneur who wants to venture into e-commerce or retail. What is that one piece of advice that you would like to give? A very brief advice. Terry?
I would say if you're switching industries, I think it's always really great to get experience at a startup, typically just because you're exposed to so many different things, and teams work like very collaboratively and cross-functionally within a small organization or an early stage business. So I always encourage people who don't have the experience but want it to kind of start at an early stage company and just like be prepared to move fast and sit in an unstructured environment and roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty. But I think that's the best way to learn, and you learn fast, and it's kind of trial by fire, and you have to be very comfortable failing the majority of the time. But when you do succeed, like celebrating those wins and like having so much fulfillment from basically seeing a growth unlock be successful and have material impact on a business is a feeling that you can't really replicate. So I would just say, like, if you can work for an early stage startup that is digitally native in nature, like that would be my recommendation.
Wonderful. That's great. Amazing. Pranav, one advice that you would like to give to budding entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs, like someone who's already running the business?
Yeah, like usually because we get approached by a lot of people that are thinking about starting companies, and I just tell them they shouldn't, and then see like how they respond to that, because it's really, really brutally hard. So like, it's kind of like there should be like a reason you're really doing this, and it shouldn't just be like, oh, like you don't like your job or like like stuff like that. And it's just like and I did like very intense, like what I felt were very intense corporate jobs, but this is a lot more difficult and a lot more stressful. in like just a different way. And so I think like people should really, I think, consider like where they are in their life, like what other things they're trying to work on in their life, and whether they're like willing to like put those on hold for a few years to get something off the ground or not. And like just have like a realistic thoughts about that. And I've just been around founders a lot, and you just kind of see like the people that don't grind as much, like usually this like doesn't really work out as much for them.
Excellent advice. Michael, how about you? What advice would you like to give?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend starting with something you really know well if you are going to be getting into something, because I was jumped into this space with sneakers and I had no idea about anything about sneaker culture. I didn't even have any really cool sneakers. This was something I joined up with somebody else that was more of a expert in that space. I think that definitely slows down growth if you don't understand your person and the purpose extremely well. That's something that I experienced being a technologist joining a consumer product brand. So, I think that's kind of a make or break thing. I think a lot of other people here probably had better first off experiences like, hey, this is something that happened to me. And, I think that's a good spot to start. And you see that being a common thread. So if you have a passion for solving a certain problem for a certain person, and even better, you are that person, it could be worth doing it. But like to many of the other people's points, it is brutally hard, even if you do know what you're doing. I'm learning more and more every day, and I'm getting my butt kicked every day, and we have to get up and do it again. So it's definitely challenging. Mentally, you have to have good endurance. And I would say almost above all, like take good care of yourself. Like make sure that you are just as important as your business. And that kind of sounds pretty funny, but it's very easy to put your business so forward in front of yourself and then let your health deteriorate, and then you will watch your business deteriorate. It's very easy to do. Because you care so much about making it work. So that would be one word of caution. To that self-care piece is really, really important when you're working hard. So
excellent.
That's one. I would say like mental and physical health. So
both.
Wonderful.
And emotional in some cases.
That's
well,
right.
That's kind of my piece of advice is make sure you have a emotional support system. It's spouse, significant other, friend,
dog,
homeless person on the street you can talk to. Seriously, just somebody you can vent to, get feedback from. And there's so many dark days as a founder, regardless if you're well funded or not. It's the mental stress of it is it's grueling some days. And you just need that emotional support system.
Wonderful. Wow. That's I think I must say, this has been an excellent panel discussion, and I think we have touched upon some very, very interesting points about how to build a brand and how entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, and knowing and when to enter, how to enter. And I think it's all learning and having that agile approach to learn things, because very recently when Satya Nadella took over Microsoft, like when he joined as a CEO, he mentioned to his team, rather than saying it, knowing that we know it all, we should say learn it all. So I think there's so much that you learn from your experiences when you venture into, when you dive into. And I think the advices that you have shared is have an emotional support system, have a very, very solid purpose when you are venturing into a new business. And I think knowing what your consumers are looking for and helping them throughout their journey, and that's how you can scale up your brand. And I think if businesses or if decision makers are able to incorporate this feedback and advice into their business, great things can happen, and they can easily scale up their business to the next level. With this, I would really like to say thank you so much once again to our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much, Terry, for joining in today. Pranav, thank you so much. Michael, thank you so much. Aaron, thank you so much. Looking forward to host you guys again in Q1 on a different topic altogether. And you guys have a fantastic holiday and a happy new year. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Happy holidays,
Pleasure, everyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Take
Take a
care.
break.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.